We are live.
I am recording, and it's actually recording. Always have to say that now.
You're listening to the Verhoeven Effect, where we are currently watching network television because me and Nathan do not watch network television. We are currently watching the 2013 season 1, 2000, watching The Blacklist, season 1, 2013, currently at the time not at the time we're watching it, the time it aired. We have 2009's The Mentalist, season 2, and season 2 of Miami Vice, 1985. I did all of those out of sequence and not in order. It's always a surprise when I have to do this opening. So
Yeah, it's like when you concentrate on something, it will always fail. But when you randomly do something, it's like it's swish, like just nothing but.
well, it's like I got notes here and like I kind of, but I haven't like solidified the opening because I just got away from the catchphrase I came up with, but it didn't work. Mostly because I have my notes, I have my show notes on the side here, and they're all big and giant. It's like covers half the screen. It's an extra big thing. And then for the broadcast, I have these smaller notes on the front of the outline because it gets shown on the feed.
Oh, okay.
And so there's like this dissonance, and also I think just because like where it's portioned, it's just like easy to miss everything I'm looking at.
So
Anyway,
it's like, is it like the Anderson Cooper schizophrenia experiment
what's that?
where he put headphones on and people would randomly say stuff through the headphones and he was trying to read something or concentrate? It was like a schizophrenia simulator. And he was supposed to read stuff aloud, but he had headphones on. You couldn't hear, but people would randomly yell stuff. I don't know through it, like "You're Jesus, you're
Yeah.
the Messiah," whatever schizophrenic people hear. And he was like, "Oh, it's impossible to live with random voices yelling at you." And I don't know how like realistic that was, but it's scary. Like when you
Yeah.
think of like, imagine trying to do something and just all this random information's coming at you, and
Yeah.
it's like what people trying to count to 20 while people are shouting numbers. Like very few people can do it. It's weird.
Well, in this instance, I'm not gaining information. I'm trying to select information from an abundance.
Well, what I'm saying is you're schizophrenic.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying that. By the way, I'm Nathan.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, I forget these things. I'm Conlon. I probably forgot to introduce us for like the last one. The last
No,
like
we
three.
always do it. I always remember I have because I wait for you because we
Like
do it.
all it is, like I usually say, I just say what do you usually do? You go like, "Hello and welcome to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Colin," and you go, "I'm Nathan." And then
Yeah.
I just want, because like every podcast does that, so I'm trying to be different. And then trying to be different, I just screw it up.
Well, look, you got to suffer for your art. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
got to stand out from the crowd. Uh,
Speaking of suffering for your art, we start as always with the blacklist.
are we gonna talk about the stuff now? Okay.
Season 1, Episode 8, General Ludd, number 109, which actually doesn't make any sense. But, anyways, original air date November 11, 2013, NBC Monday. Red demands a deal from Cooper before he'll agree to stop an anti capitalist terrorist network next deadly attack, while her dad's failing health reveals secrets in Liz's path. Showrunner John Bokenkamp, written by Amanda Kate Schumann and directed by Steven Surik.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
a dark week for shows. This is a lot of crazy stuff going on in this episode,
yeah,
and
I've
it was another Fringe opening where it's like, yeah, dad and his son are throwing a football in the park, and all of a sudden, like, you know, a chair falls out of the sky from a
well, first
plane
it's
with a
a shoe,
corpse.
and then it's a
Yeah,
corpse,
and
and
it's
then
like
it's an entire
horrifyingly
airplane.
burnt, and like you don't know if those people died or not. Like I don't, I
No, they
don't.
did.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah, they confirm it later on. I mean,
Okay. I must have missed that.
they had the plane engine like fall into the camera, but it's like there's like a throwaway line later on. Oh no, it's when the main terrorist bad guy's talking to like the business guy. He
Mhm.
says something like it killed a dad and his kid in the parking lot. And he's like, or
Oh,
in the park, wasn't that crazy? And he's like, yeah, it's terrible. So
okay.
that's the only time it was confirmed. Um, I mean, they do caution tape up everything, but you do that, and because there's also dead people on an airplane, so
Yeah, it was.
which they don't really mention those people.
No,
I mean, well, it is a cargo plane, so
yeah, just a couple people died, but I call these the Fringe openings, even though Fringe was a Fox show and this is NBC. It's like, yeah, it's like something horrifying is going to happen, and that's kind of to set the mood for the show, but it seems to be like a pattern I'm starting to see more of in this.
Yeah, really, I just like I felt like this episode was off, even though it was like an incredibly like in the overall scheme of things, like this is a very important episode.
Yeah.
But like things just didn't work. Like again, really bad special effects.
Yeah. I'm starting to see that as a staple of this.
You start with like this, this kid and his dad playing catch with a football in the park, and he's wearing like a business overcoat or something. It's like, what are they doing? When are they doing it? What's going on? And does this have relevance to the rest of the show? Like, no, other than it's sad they die.
Yeah. In a horrifying way where they were afraid the whole time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if they died, because you explained to me, it's like, oh yeah, they did, but it was still like, yeah, that's maybe I saved him some therapy bills. I don't know.
But I mean, again, it's another thing. It doesn't make sense, but it's dramatic, so they achieve that once again.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But they have a weird thing where there was a CGI piece of plane falling and hitting the ground, and it doesn't rebound properly, and it just like looks obviously fake, and it's like, this looks like CGI you'd find in a comedy.
Yeah, because the part hits the ground and it's immediately static.
Yeah.
There's no transition of energy into the ground where it rocks around a little bit. No, it just hits the ground and boom.
No, it's surprising. Because like every Saturday, the Corridor crew put out their like special effects artists react, and so now we have a little bit more inside knowledge in this stuff. So now
I'm subscribed to those guys now for a lot of reasons. Watching those guys almost makes me more sympathetic to bad CGI.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Because this is a TV show.
Difficult.
Yeah. Well, I literally looked up an answer of like, why is the CGI so bad in the Blacklist, and some guy was explaining it, and he actually focused on this episode as being the worst offender. And it was like some interesting stuff where it was like, the lighting doesn't match, the shadows of the objects are different from the shadows on the what was filmed live and stuff like that. It's like, okay, yeah, so this was put together in a rush, so
yeah, it's like you guys got 2 days, go.
Yeah. But you figure for like an episode that's probably supposed to be important, they might maybe
dress that up,
give them some leeway.
I noticed in like Battlestar there was like, oh, we're having a battle is coming up in 2 episodes because everyone's just talking and staring at each other, because we got to save our money, because we're in this to make money, and we have to, can't spend all our budget every show. So yeah.
Anyways, credits. There's some weird guy in a mask, and he's like at the hacker guy, and he mentions General Ludd, and General Ludd's the name of this hacker group. That's mentioning like Luddites, and what are Luddites? Are just like people that are angry at smart people or smart things.
The Luddites are people whose jobs and way of life are being misplaced by displaced by technology.
Okay.
And they're people that you're called a Luddite if you like reject technology and modernity.
Oh, okay.
And it's meant to be an insult, but in kind of the world of modern capitalism where, your livelihood's being replaced, and it's not like you can educate or upskill yourself and move into another way. It's just like, no, you're just being replaced. So it's a weird. The Luddites in the 18th century didn't like the cotton mills taking their jobs and their textile jobs or whatever, because it was just a clockwork piece of machinery that did what they used to do by hand. Whereas nowadays it has different connotations as time goes on. But yeah, the technical definition of a Luddite is that.
And also, like, this whole group, I think, is maybe undercut because, once you see Mr. Robot, like, nothing compares.
No, it's.
And I know this precedes Mr. Robot, but we're getting to do it backwards, so.
Yeah, we do everything backwards.
It's not fair to it, but still.
We're trying to like screen 20 years of culture and into with all different from all different angles, and we're podcasting from the future, so that makes it really hard. But yeah,
Liz gets a call from her dad. It's William Sadler.
yes,
Who's also famously in a movie about causing plane wrecks. Die Hard 2.
yes. We see William Sadler's testicles a lot in Die Hard 2.
I think it's just
More
once, but
well, that's more than any other testicles
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
ever seen in a movie.
and I don't think he actually saw it. It's more of his just butt or whatever. He's doing naked
testicles
yoga before he
out.
crashes airplanes and
Yeah,
has Glocks coming out of everywhere.
everywhere is a Glock. He's a man, damn it.
Yeah, Renee probably has something fatal, and of course he does, but at this point, Liz doesn't know. But also, it's the first time we introduced it, like, oh, Liz has a dad. Is it biological? And we've learned no, but I think we're supposed to know that up front. But also,
Yeah, they did mention he was adopted. I think she mentioned that like an early episode.
yeah. But I feel like but like early on they made it seem like her home life was very tumultuous, and here they kind of like walk that back a bit, which in a first season that's fine if you want to like have some.
Yeah, I think maybe there was a little bit of redirect on what we want her life to be. Probably just a little tweak to the whatever Venn diagram they have in the writing room. Maybe I don't know. And it was also said he was a single guy who just adopted a girl.
Yeah.
And had and going through teenage years with girls. I mean, I'm sure it was tumultuous. Maybe it wasn't Dad's fault entirely because he's just some dude who adopted a girl for reasons, which we don't know. But I mean, we don't assume it was something sick or gross because she loved him. So
well, I mean, it seems to be like he was also being supported by Red, or what we're led to believe. But
that's what gets weird in this one.
General Lutter, just like anarchist terrorists. They made a homemade bomb and put it on a cargo plane, so it was like fertilizer and stuff. I wrote about the names of Indians, so I don't know if Arthur Denning stole the chemicals, but he's like 4 different people, and it ends up being this guy named Nathaniel Wolf. Is like the guy, and they cut to like these people that are very weird, and they're building a bomb into a laptop.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a cult group, and like they're just kind of like worship the Mr. Wolf here.
Yeah, and they're very strange and nervous. Like the whole time. Mm-hmm. I thought they were nervous because they were building a bomb, which would be kind of nerve-wracking. I've never built one, but no, it seems like they were continuously nervous after the bomb was confirmed to work. The way they wanted it to. They were still like scared. So it's like, okay, something weird here.
Red and Lou are hanging out with literal money laundering. I mean, this counterfeit cash that they're just like making it look used by putting it in a literal, washer and dryer machine. Or whatever. But it's funny, like the lady doing counterfeit money is just like the housewife and
soccer mom.
Talking
about her kids, like, yeah, he's really adjusting to school well, and Red's like, good. And Red's trying to convince her to move to Malaysia, and it's just weird, just weird Red stuff. Like,
and then Liz pops up, and then she sees all the counterfeit stuff, and she's like, well, I'm an FBI agent, like illegal stuff's going on. Then Red's like, Molly, like intentionally saying she's somebody different, and like so he doesn't piss off his client that he's working with. And then then Red's like playing on a swing set, and he suggests Dr. Maltz changed Wolf's identity, and Dr. Maltz is Andrew Dice Clay.
I thought that was weird. I was like, wait a minute, what? This is Andrew Dice Clay.
I mean, he did get acting like around this time. So
I didn't know it was him at first until like the cadence of his speech. I was like, this guy sounds a lot. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, this is who this is.
And again, he does this thing where where Liz identifies herself as an FBI agent and that she needs this information on this guy because he's bombing airplanes, and then Red turns it around like because he gives up the information. Then Red's like, it's like like saying that Liz isn't Liz and she's just posing as an FBI agent, and you just gave away client information. How can I ever trust you? He just immediately turns it in his favor, which is fun.
An immediate misdirect, which he does a lot with Liz. Just like this impromptu lying. And James Spader does such a good job of doing stuff like that. Like you just want to believe. He's really the heart of this show. I don't know if I've seen that before, but it's like he almost seems like he's having fun, but he's also like the best actor in the show by far. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh wow, this guy's really.
Well, I mean, it's like it lives up to the reputation of like even if it's an uneven episode, he'll swing the day. So.
And sometimes he's not on screen that much.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always doing something, but if you add up his screen time, it's like, sometimes he's in it like 10 minutes, but every time it counts.
It's kind of like in The Mentalist, how there's always like one line that Cho delivers and he kind of just steals the show.
Yeah.
But Red always gets like 2 of those an episode.
And he's a guy that's just evil. It's like at the end of the day, he's just a bad person doing bad things, but you like him.
He's fun.
Yeah, he's fun. I want to be like this guy, that's what
well, also we're like also supposed to be hopeful that this is all being done for some greater good, but you just like it's hard to believe that.
Yeah, and it gets harder to believe
yeah, because we're privy to all the things he does. So we have Wolf posing as a pilot, and I wrote that Wolf is like the worst of all conclusions for the movie of Wall Street because he's basically the Charlie Sheen character from Wall Street, except he's not a
anti-capitalist.
Yeah, he's not a what do you call that? The bank, not a banker, the stock trader or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they get like the word out, like they get a signal that like he clocked in with this ID and they know where he is, but like the entire time nobody like stops this guy whatsoever.
Yeah, let him run around the airport
and he gets
the waitress or the stewardess and put this on the plane for me. Sure.
Yeah, and then they kind of cut away and he leaves because the bomb's gonna blow up the plane, and like you have Liz and Wrestler like in the foreground, like everybody, all right, lock everything down, and then we have another comical explosion.
Yeah, another unbelievable explosion very close to him on an airplane that's just mostly aluminum. And like, no one gets hit with shrapnel, nothing.
Well, they do get pushed slightly forward.
Yeah, it's like the Star Trek from the 60s TV show. It's like, oh no. It's like my wife's like, oh, they're in trouble. The props are shaking. It's like, that's her line. It's like, why do you watch this crap? I don't know. But that was in the 60s. See, this is, little more recent.
Yeah, there's just better ways to do this than just we need to show an airplane exploding. It's like, well, how much time and money do we have to do that? Here's $20 in a week.
Yeah. $20 in a laptop. Make it happen. We're not even doing wire work for the people getting thrown through the air by the explosion. They're just basically falling over their feet.
Yeah. Onto maybe an airbag.
Maybe, we hope. Craft services table.
Red meets with Liz's dad, Sam. Sam says he needs to tell Liz whatever truth before he dies, but Red forbids it.
And I kind of thought it was like Red was going to be like, okay, I trusted this guy. I mean, it was always in the back of my mind, like, oh, he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe he's going to like, this guy's dying, and he's going to die painfully.
So they kind of cut back and forth. And the first time he goes, he's just sitting in Sam's room and he's like, hello, Sam. And he kind of has like a dour look on him. It's like, oh, he's going to kill him. But then they come back and they're like telling jokes. It's like, oh, okay. Everything's good.
Stories from the Satan days, whatever the hell these guys were into.
And then General Ludd makes a statement to the world and they claim an uprising on the American oligarchs. Unfortunately timely.
Yeah.
And then this ends up being a money heist, so they try to do kind of like the Die Hard thing where it's like serious kind of like murder going on, but then like, oh, it's a heist, then you can have fun with it. But you don't really have fun with it the entire anytime. Anyways, like, because like, so apparently they did all that to ground the airplanes, and then that have to put like this money in a truck that they're going to be able to control.
Yeah.
And then Liz talks, and then, yeah, because the planes are grounded, Liz can't get back to her dad because she's informed by, like, Tom at some point that, like, oh, no, he's dying, and she doesn't know that. So she's trying to get back there, but then, like, they kind of make the FBI agents look like assholes. Like, no, you can't go back to see your father die. And they're like, no, but it's a family emergency. It's like, no, the planes are grounded. You literally can't go back.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's kind of clever dialogue. I was just kind of going to be a prick. It's like, there is no my dad is dying in the FBI. No. It's actually no one can fly planes except Red, which is like, okay, interesting. Because
apparently his pilot
said it was 9/11 protocols.
Yeah.
And interestingly, after the real 9/11, the only people that could fly were Saudi royal family members that Bush wanted to get out of the country. That's true. I'm not making that up. But yeah.
I guess, yeah, I'm guessing Red's airplane guy must just like fly 5 feet off the ground in a commercial like jetliner.
This is one of those things where they're making is like, oh, is Red Satan and he can do anything? Like, he can defy 9/11 no fly protocol. Like, wait a minute, who is this guy?
Yeah, so Liz talks to her dad one last time before Red suffocates him to death.
Yeah.
And like it's the whole time, and like Red's being like very conciliatory and like saying like what a great job he did. Remember, like you're always her dad. Like you gave her strength and stuff like that. And it's like now time. He doesn't say now time to die, but that's what happened.
Yeah, he like springs on him like a snake and suffocates his pillow. And,
and he's kind of teary eyed and of it, but it's like that has to be done.
Yeah, I mean he regrets it obviously, but not enough to. Like,
not enough to not do it.
Which
I think nature's going to take the course here, but apparently for you this is a kindness.
And what's weird about it is because you had two great actors with Red and what was that guy? We just said the guy's name.
Well, Sam, but William Sadler.
William Sadler. Yeah. So you have these two great actors playing this scene out where it's kind of like, is Red going to kill him? And it almost like you don't care what's going on with the FBI and the people stealing the money because you're like, is he going to kill him? Is he going to kill him? And that almost becomes like secondary. Like, okay, let's blow up the money. This is stupid. I want to see what this guy does. And then it gets even better because Red's outside the hospital talking elliptically to Tom Keene.
Yeah, which we like this first time I realized like, oh, they've never met each other before.
Well, maybe I
don't know. This whole conversation has like a double meaning for everything. Like it's like, oh, is Tom clueless or is he not clueless? And they're both just like talking in two directions at each other. Yeah. Which makes us seem more interesting, but also like that's a scene where you can read whatever you want into it. That's what makes it interesting. So
I tend to think they knew each other and they were just speaking elliptically for some reasons that will become clear later. I don't know. And I don't look ahead on these shows because I want it to surprise. I'm guessing that's that. My interpretation is that was an elliptical conversation by two people who knew each other.
Yeah.
But Red's always talking like that, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess the only thing he cares about is Liz, and this is the guy that's closest to her. So
yeah, who may or may not be a spy who murdered people or not.
Yeah. Wrestler and Liz intercept the bank truck, and there's like a shootout. Alongside, there's just a protest going on, which that protest doesn't immediately disband once people are shooting at each other.
As a matter of fact, it intensifies.
They like,
and the FBI makes no attempt to move up on the position of the shooters or anything. They just stand there by their car, just blazing away. No one gets hit, I don't think. Does anyone get hit?
No. I mean, because they do most of the shooting, and then the bank truck is armored, so like it's like he easily hides behind it. Which
So
at that
again,
point, you might
another
wish
thing in a city in a protest, it's like start hammering just empty magazines. Just
the
start
wrestler
reloading.
way.
Yep, just blaze away.
Should we at least like aim at their feet that we can see through the door? Like, no, hit the door. It's cooler.
Yeah, the bullets will bounce around. You can kill 2 or 3 people. Only a riot going on behind the truck. Whatever.
And then like there's like pallets in the back of money. They like hook a line to it and rip it out of the truck. And then there's like a bomb in the pallet of money and it blows up. Which I'm not sure if like, are they destroying the money or is it just a cooler way to distribute it to the masses?
The anti-capitalist protesters, like the whole protest stops and everyone's gathering up the money that wasn't blown to bits. That's really what it all, it's all fake, that's like the message there, I guess. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's like, okay, so like they're just doing, well, yeah, because that's probably the interesting thing about this is it bounces around a bunch where it's like, okay, so they're just terrorists, they have their reasons. Oh no, they're just looking to get money. Like, oh no, they're terrorists again. Oh no, they're looking to get money. Oh no, they're terrorists again.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. It's like you don't know if like this guy's serious. It's like because in the truck where they have in the easily break into and use fake IDs to take $500 million in U.S. currency around. They also put the dies in a safe inside the truck. And a safe, by the way, it looks like you could buy at Walmart. Like that's where the dies and all the secret information about how he make $100 bills is. And so he swaps that out with a fake one.
Yeah, for this, it's a hard drive that holds the blueprints, the dollar bill that apparently they're going to use to print. But like, I don't know how that stuff works, but it's like literally it's like whatever mold you carve into there, that's what it prints, and like that's what they are. I'm not sure if it's the blueprints are stored on a hard drive or anything like that. Maybe the process, but not like the literal picture.
Yeah, whatever the process is, I'm sure it's not like man portable for a reason. I mean, it might be, but I would be very surprised if.
Yeah, I mean, they make. Maybe they got. I didn't look it up to see if this is like true or anything like that, but like as far as I know, that stuff works is like it's a printing process, and so they're making it seem like you just load this up into a computer and start literally printing money from like your home printer and it's good to go. It's like, well, that's not how that works. But
no, that's not how they make money. They carve dies by hand, and it's the errors of the human carvers that make them unique. And it's that's how I understand. But I could have like a 20-year-old understanding of it. I don't know. I've never really counterfeited any money, believe it or not, folks.
But they do. But I guess like a kind of interesting twist is they make it seem as like, okay, he stole that because he's gonna print his own money. But then it's like, no, it's a ruse, and he leaves like a counterfeit thing in there, so that the government starts printing counterfeit money and then ruins the dollar. Which like that's an interesting concept. No idea if that'd work, but interesting concept.
I don't know what I know in the world, like I watched like a documentary about like the Treasury Department, and like U.S. money is the most counterfeited in the world.
Yeah.
And there's like governments that have government pockets to figure out how to counterfeit U.S. money, and it's still incredibly difficult. So I don't know like how any of this works, but it's an interesting.
Some of the reason it's like it's most counterfeited because it's like some of our money is a bit more easier to counterfeit because one of the things that makes it valuable is that it doesn't change, like including like look and size and all that stuff. Like it's always the same. And so that's why like there's other, like, I believe Canada's like money is like
it's plastic.
Yeah. And it's harder to counterfeit because it just has a bit more technology in it. Whereas ours, we have stuff like that too. There's like all those ribbons and stuff in there and like, stuff you can hold at the light and stuff. That's like, a bit more technology, but there's only so much you can go far with the US dollar before you're like just changing it completely and unintentionally changing the value of it for security.
Yeah. And also like Canada and those countries can, they're not like the world's reserve currency either.
Yeah,
so they can play around with it because a lot of our money that's made, especially like the $100 bill, they just sit in a bank vault somewhere for decades. Like it's just a country using that as backup currency. And
but we have this where Liz contacts Red because he can magically get anywhere when all the planes are grounded, And so Red will probably know where this guy's going because he's going to get on also a magical plane that can fly under the under the radar. And so Red meets Wolf, and then he just then Red steals the hard drive from Wolf, so he doesn't have it anymore. And then it seems like it's meant to be like a few moments later, but it seems like the next scene, like they just leave the scene and then the FBI shows up magically to arrest him. That one's kind of clunky, but
I did like the conversation between Wolf and Red, because Red talks about the evils of capitalism and all this, and Red's like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I also like capitalism and the lifestyle it affords me, so I'm not really part of your cause. You know, it was one of those conversations like, I hear what you're saying, but I think it's bullshit because I'm essentially like Satan. You know? It's like, yeah, I love capitalism, of course. Why wouldn't I? It's the most evil system on the planet, except for every other system, but you know.
So they have a funeral for Sam. So a week later, there's a week later, funeral for. Oh wait, no, am I thinking of a different show?
No, there's a funeral in the other show too, but there's a funeral in this one.
Okay.
It's a funeral.
Actually, there's a funeral in every show. There's a funeral in every show this week.
Yep, that's true. Weird, you're right. I didn't think of that.
Okay, no, so I don't think it's a week later. There's a funeral. We cut to a funeral for Sam, and they're like, and you see like Liz being all sad and stuff, and like over the top of this, they're playing some like shoegazer alt rock.
Yeah, it's weird music. It's a strange choice. I noticed that.
And I don't even know what the band is, but
it was inappropriate. I thought. Yeah, this doesn't match.
And then we come back to a thing where like Red was negotiating in the beginning to get access to VICAP, the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, and so Cooper's going to let him use it, but just once.
Yeah.
And then Red pulls out the red envelope he got from Wu Jing in like episode 3 or something like that. And I wrote down not everything, but the most pertinent stuff. It's 042983 Lucy Brooks, also known as Catherine Hain, aliases Molly Paplow, Kara Lewis, and Aaron Lissel.
Yeah, I noticed you had a lot of aliases.
And from up there, I was like, "Is that Liz?" But like, no, it's just some lady with dark hair. So I don't know who that. I believe we're not supposed to know who that is. But
I think it's Red's daughter. But I don't know.
Okay,
that's what I was thinking. But I didn't look it up. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I did say she was born in '83, but.
Yeah, I don't know the exact. It never really revealed like the exact timeline of when he lit out and why.
Oh no, they said Christmas '91.
Okay.
Which that corresponds to like one of the photos that the stew maker had.
Okay.
But also like, you know, he had like a wife and one kid, as far as I know. But or maybe Liz is like, you know, an out of wedlock child that he had, and maybe like his actual daughter died. And so that's why he's like extra protective of Liz somehow or something. But
that could be.
And then Liz confronts Red about stealing the real blueprints, but then he kind of like misdirects and is like, "Yeah, tell me about your father." Like, you know, we have to.
Yeah, they're sitting on a kid's swing, and he's like, "You really got to talk about your dad to work your way through your pain and this loss. This is important." Like he's acting like a therapist and a friend. It's like, "Yo, you killed him. I mean, he's gonna die anyway, but you accelerated that timeline by about 6 weeks, according to the doctors." That's a weird, like, deeply immoral Red thing. It's like,
yeah, it's kind of him daring, like, make me sad, Liz. Yeah. Tell me one of the most important people in your lives, and then now they're dead. Like, how that affects you? Because I purposely did it.
Yeah, tell me about that. I want to see like all of the architecture of everything I did.
But yeah, so that was the
strong, memorable episode.
Yeah, I think it's uneven, but yeah, it was an important episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's the elements of it that were I didn't care about the main story. I was more interested in Red and this guy, which I don't know if you're supposed to be or not, but that's what I got out of it.
And for our second show, we have The Mentalist, season 2, episode 8, His Red Right Hand.
Yeah, this was Another strong one.
Original air date November 19th, 2009, CBS Thursday. Red John strikes again, this time in the CBI office, leaving 3 agents dead and Sam Bosco in critical condition. Showrunner Bruno Heller, written by Ashley Gable and directed by Chris Long.
Yeah, this one like actually returns to the main storyline. You know, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's still real. He's still doing evil shit.
Well, we start out with Van Pelt and Rigsby in bed together, and then they get called into work.
Yeah,
which maybe just like it's like put there to like kind of catch you off guard when things eventually come. And then Bosco calls Jane to tell him that they need to talk, and then they're like at this is that a mausoleum? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's like a mausoleum,
which is just like marble with like dead bodies in it.
So yeah, it's either dead bodies or cremated bodies. I'm not sure.
Okay. There's a victim who's naked, a gunshot to the head, and they're just like leaning against a post, and they have like flowers over their privates.
Yeah, and he's frozen too.
Yeah. Yeah, because the doctor like did a liver temp and said it was different from the surface temp. I was like, that's weird. But then like she spots like a freezer burn like on his right hand, which I'm not sure if that's necessarily like the red right hand is referencing, or just like another casual reference. And then the team just like go back to the office and they walk in on the whole like Bosco's Red John team are just been assassinated, but Bosco might still be alive because it's like everyone was like, oh, they're all gone, but then they start doing like CPR. On Bosco. And then we cut to 24 hours earlier, and there's like Bosco and his team are stealing food from the from the fridge. But then we cut back to, because they have like kind of this like funny moment between Bosco and Liz, but then they come back that Bosco is like kind of like barely coming back to life, and he gets taken away on a gurney. And then Jane points out that Agent Hicks is missing.
Yeah.
So now they're all in this case, like, all right, who killed the CBI agents? And Van Pelt's going through the camera footage, but a bunch of it's corrupted, so they can't do that. They mention an Armenian drug cartel run by Michael Asanian, but that never comes up in the rest of the episode.
That is just like, that's the misdirect. That was the Armenian heroin cartel. It's like, no.
Which I wonder if that will come back just randomly.
Probably. I don't know. It might.
And the team are focused on catching the CBI killers, but Jane is more interested in solving the frozen body case, which they figured out it's Dr. Talon Morning.
Yeah. Which I thought was a weird anagram. It's like, oh, what does that mean? That sounds like a weird anagram, not a real name.
Oh, it might be, yeah. It is a weird name.
Yeah.
Talon doesn't sound like a real name. Morning sounds like it's a misdirect.
Yeah.
The team go to the hospital of the doctor, but Jane like spots the flowers from the crime scene, and then he breaks into the doctor's office. He makes sure to like do it in time before like Lisbon catches up.
Yeah.
And then
they picks the lock in record time.
And then they go. Jane goes in the office, and Hicks is dead in the office, and there's a Red John sign on the Red John face on the wall. So
yeah.
So now they all know what's going on. Yeah, we come to the scene where like Manelli goes off on the like crass media, but it's like this kind of weird scene where it's like in current times it just comes with this weird smug self-satisfaction. Like, we go in the dark corners afraid, and you guys are pansies for asking us questions. So that doesn't really hit us hard.
Thing about how bad their equipment was. And it's like, yeah. We got computers with more viruses than a $10 whore. And it's like, what the hell? Okay.
Yes, I say that probably didn't age well, but it's also a fictional, like, enforcement agency, so we can't.
He also makes claims like, yeah, all our equipment's old and bad, all our cars are broke down, and we don't have enough stuff, and it's like, oh, these actually, through all these episodes, these people seem pretty well funded, and
yeah, they can take plane rides. I mean, we come back to CBI, and everyone's got an AR-15, and there's all these like Suburbans out there with all their lights on it, and like every one of those vehicles costs like $80,000.
Yeah. They just seem mad that they don't have Ferraris.
Should have
was
gone
kind
to
of weird.
Vice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird scene, and I think I got a
Well, yeah.
feeling
See,
it's a send off scene. Like, yeah, okay,
yeah. Well, also, I think they wanted to like because I think I forget where I wrote it right on when there was the reveal, but essentially, like this is the second compromised employee of the CBI in this season alone.
yeah. They seem to have a pretty porous hiring practice where it's like, yeah,
So, like, I think that speech would kind of speak to like how can like obviously the CBI agents we're witness to are professionals at their job and do really good with what they have. And it's like, how can these things, how can they ever be put on the back foot? And apparently it's, it's bureaucratic red tape and tax dollars not going to them or something.
yeah,
So I guess that might be a little bit of it out, but also, they wanted to show Manila getting tired of his job.
yeah.
Jane goes to see Bosco, but he's still like in a coma, and he wants to wake up Bosco by just like unplugging his morphine. It's like, if he's in pain, he'll wake up. It's like, I don't think that's how a medically induced coma works, but
Yeah, it seemed it's just a way to show like
how far
yeah,
he's willing to go.
yeah, Jane is completely abandoned humanity almost
Yeah.
in his well, if he ever had any. That's one of the parallels in this show. I'm starting to get the vibe. I could be wrong on this, but it's like, oh, is Jane as immoral as Red John? He just doesn't gain satisfaction from pure evil. But really, when it comes down to it, like, oh, he's not a whole lot different from Red John. He's just
there's like this moment, like towards the end, where they kind of like intimate for just like half a second. Did Red John kill all those guys so he could be back on the case? I mean, no. Did I meant
Jane.
did Jane kill all those guys to get back on the case?
Yeah, I kind of wondered that myself. Like, oh, this show's going in a weird. We're gonna find out that Jane was Red John. It's like, that's too obvious. They wouldn't do that.
Then they're going through Bosco stuff, and they find out that they're cross-referencing Bosco's investigation with this doctor, and then they come upon there's like a body in a strip mall, and it's like from an earlier Red John case. And then Cho and Jane go to like look at the body, but the body is missing, and they said like, oh, it's a CBI agent picked it up, and the doctor's describing the CBI agent, and then we get like, and like they don't really do this, but we get basically like a what do you call that? Like a it's like a previously on or a flashback. That's what
flashback. Yeah. Okay.
We get a flashback, and with Rebecca, who's like the secretary, and it's like, oh well, she's involved. And then we see her put like, she's getting coffee, and then she like puts a gun with a silencer in a picnic basket.
Yeah.
And then like Rebecca goes to visit Bosco's team, and she's like has the basket there. I was like, oh, where's the coffee? And then she seems to like take that moment to pull the gun out and kill everybody. Apparently other guys were just one shot kills. Like she got him in the heart, but like shoots Bosco in like the stomach, but he keeps like goes to get his gun to like try to return fire, and she shoots him like 2 more times, and somehow he's still not dead. But
yeah,
goes to show his resilience. Yeah, that's our wrote down like that. Yeah, second compromised employee this year. So
yep,
it's not good looking good for the CBI.
He goes from being like a middle-aged secretary to a ninja assassin. Well, not really. She just shot people with a gun, but it's like if you've never done that before, I imagine it's hard. I mean,
yeah. Red John gave her the courage.
Gotta have the courage of your convictions.
And then this also intercut with her going to Bosco's room at the hospital to kill him, but she's like waiting for him to wake up so she can shoot him in the head or something.
Yeah, which is weird. It's just go in there and shoot him and walk out.
And they also focus on the balloons, and I thought there was going to be like, is there some deadly gas in the balloon?
Poison in the balloon. I was thinking that too. It was like pop the balloon and like Joker gas. Didn't end up happening.
Probably want to be poison gas, and the balloons would float.
Yeah.
Um,
Gotta start doing internet research. Like, yeah, does sarin gas float? It's like, yeah, see how quick someone's knocking on your door. What are you doing?
I'm fact checking an episode of The Mentalist in a
Yeah.
scenario we came up with that didn't happen in the show.
Yeah. It's like a show within a show. It's crazy. Yeah, come with us.
So yeah, Van Pelt and Lisbon come in and arrest Rebecca, and then Van Pelt's kind of being kind of harsh with Rebecca. It's like, you bitch.
Like, throws her against the wall. Boom. Forearm to the back.
Calls her a bitch like 4 times. At first I thought it was like Rebecca saying that to Lisbon, but it's like, no, it's Lisbon pointing a gun calling her a bitch. And then
Lisbon will shoot.
Yeah.
She will shoot.
She has no problem with that. And then we have Bosco wake up and he goes like, what's with the balloons? Just, I guess that's the only purpose of the balloons, is like a kind of joke.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Lisbon pointing a gun at somebody, that's normal. What's with the balloons?
Weird, non sequitur almost.
And then we have Jane questions Rebecca, and then Jane just kind of like does background on Rebecca without knowing anything about her. He just like guesses, and we're left to assume usually it's like, oh, everything he said was true. So it's just it's just
she doesn't like freak out and start screaming. So it's like, oh, okay. So Red John prepped her, because she even says like, you and him are alike. You know, you just read people and you know their darkest, whatever.
Yeah.
And Jane's like, he's just using you. That's all he does. He doesn't care about you. No, he cares. Oh yeah, she's gonna die before the end of the episode. I thought that in my mind immediately. Like, he's gonna.
Well, as soon as like they are taking her away and they start playing some like somber music, I'm like, they're gonna kill her.
No.
But yeah, also like when he's interviewing, this is where we get the big reveal where like he doesn't understand why they killed the team, and she's like, oh, Red John thought you'd understand. It's like, he did this for you. He's like, he did this so you can be back on the Red John case. He likes when you're chasing after him.
Yeah.
And there's just kind of like this moment where it's like, where it seems like maybe the CBI agents are thinking like that somehow Jane was involved with this.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's all Jane wants. So, but yeah, as they're escorting Rebecca away to a jail or whatever, like somebody walks by and like rubs some green thing on her, and then she just
Nova chalk on her,
and then she starts dying immediately. And we figured the other people start dying, but they have Jane run in and go like, "Don't touch her."
Yeah,
just because he knows. And then we have.
Bosco dies.
Yeah.
Which I didn't see coming. Like,
yeah,
he was gonna.
Yeah, I figured he's gonna be the season long, but yeah, they go back to the hospital, and that's Lisbon's talking to Bosco, and he basically tells him that the doctors are saying you lost a lot of blood, so you're probably gonna die.
And that's what I heard him say that, and it's like, well, just start looking for blood types. Transfusion. What are we doing?
And then this also where Bosco confesses his love for Lisbon.
Yeah.
Also telling like, yeah, your wife's on the way here, but the plane got delayed. So, while you're about to die, you can confess your love first, not your wife.
Yeah, for this person that's not your wife. Yeah. Weird, sad end for the character of Bosco.
And then she kind of leaves, and Jane comes in, and Bosco tells Jane to kill Red John. Like, that's the only purpose. You got to kill this guy. And then he whispers something to him, but we aren't privy to that. I mean, he says something what he says later on, but we don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
And then he dies as he's whispering to Jane.
Yeah.
Which I found a little weird, because I kind of sit there and be sad about it. But I was like, shouldn't there be like nurses and shit be coming in?
Yeah, shouldn't there be like alarms going off?
I mean, there is. They have the EKG kind of like, but like, and they just stand there. Okay, so yeah, this is where we get the 1 week later, and like they're kind of back from the funeral. Um, and we have Minnelli is retiring. He says in his time on the job he only had 4 agents die, and that all happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So, um, which yeah, I was trying to think like, yeah, was there other? Yeah, because there wasn't
There were police killed, but not CBI agents.
Okay, that's what I was trying to think about.
Because I was thinking about that too. I was like, wait a minute, didn't? And then they're like, no, actually, it was like small town cops and state police, but not
Okay, yeah.
CBI guys.
And then the team toasts some tequila to Bosco because that was one of his things. And then I wrote down that Jane doesn't drink it; he just makes the toast. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't necessarily would know what to read into that, but or maybe the actor literally was like, "Hey, I'm currently in rehab.
Yeah.
Can't be drinking booze on screen."
Maybe he just doesn't like tequila or never liked Bosco. I don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause Jane's like a elusive savage sometimes. Like he really doesn't care about people unless he has a reason to.
I mean, he does take the tequila to Bosco's like desk and to look over the Red John case, so maybe he's just gonna, wait till he goes through the entire case and then drink the tequila. What's the
That could be.
But yeah, So this is this one worked better. I mean, it's still like kind of like some of the mainline mystery wasn't really there, but but this was an important episode where a lot of big things happen, so this was done pretty well. So
Yeah, so it was the disposal of the people on CBI who were kind of blocking Jane.
yeah.
Oh, so
But yeah, like usually all the Red John episodes are like pretty big, so this was a big Red John episode.
Yes, it was a good one. Sorry, I dropped something.
That's all right. This will be edited later, so.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's almost weird. Like it did take me for. It's like, oh yeah, this is the whole point of this is Red John, because we've been on so many jaunty things. It's like it's almost become like the big issue of the episode was getting access to Bosco's case files, and it's like, well, no, really, the whole object was Red John,
Yeah.
who we haven't heard from in several episodes.
Yeah, because the main antagonist for Jane has just been Bosco the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
And now he's out of the way. So.
Yeah.
Which I wonder what they're going to do with Minnelli. If they just have him come back, or they got a new boss, and if the boss isn't going to seem eye to eye with Jane and his antics.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd actually, like I said, I can't look anything up because I kind of want to know, but I just like, well, wait a minute. It's
but yeah, this is where we speculate. Yeah.
See if we're wrong.
Yeah. Because that's how people watch these shows. Is like, gather the information, you speculate, and if you're right, it makes you seem cool, and if you're wrong, but it's like a better solution, then it's like also equally entertaining.
Yeah, I find myself like with this now, and because I think this is a much better season. I like the show, the feel. I think the writing's pretty snappy. I don't feel like I know all the characters, and I see this as a much stronger season of The Mentalist, and so I find myself often like, because the way I watch it, it's like next episode coming up, like, oh cool, it's like, oh wait, no, because it's like I want to know, it's like, where's this going next? It's the same way with The Blacklist. It's like, yeah, oh, next season, next epepisode, cool. It's like, oh wait a minute, no, can't.
Which because they went to the streaming model where you just release it all at once, but now it seems like they're going back to the once a week release model. And there's arguments either way, because it used to be like you release it all at once and then just everybody watches it and talks about it, and then it just becomes a phenomenon. But then now people are saying like they just released the 4th season of Ozark and just everybody forgot about it, and like, well, everyone's still talking about Peacemaker.
Peacemaker was wonderful, and also Raised by Wolves is the weekly thing too.
Yeah,
I'm finding I like that a lot, because the first season of Raised by Wolves, I just waited till it all came out and watched it all at once. And that show is so wacky and weird. It's like, oh no, it's better watching it once a week.
Yeah.
You can only absorb so much goob at one time before you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, that's a show that specifically, like, every end of it's so dire in its consequences that every episode ends like a season arc. Like
Right.
every episode ends on a season arc, but it's just one episode. It's like, here's the big thing. Like, tune in next season. It's like, nope, next week. And then it happens every episode.
Yeah, that's the only reason I watch that show is because of stuff like that. It's like, oh, this is so weird. I love it.
But then the argument the other way, where it's like you got like Squid Game, which was like kind of a slow burn, and then everybody else caught on, and it's like the biggest thing in the world, where it's like 67 million people watched it or something like
Yeah.
that.
Some
So.
insane. Yeah, because that stuff where you can get people from multiple continents and cultures and languages to watch your show, like that's where the big numbers come from.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the big money, but the big numbers.
I don't know. They're getting them to do a second season, and that show really did not need a second season.
I haven't. I was gonna save Squid Game for future stuff.
Yeah.
Anything that's a phenomenon, unless it's like right up my alley, I'm going to avoid because it's like, oh, I might use this for material later. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I just missed out on. Like Ozark. Like I never saw the third season, and now there's a fourth season. It's like, ah, shit.
yeah, Ozark's another one that I'm saving for. Like, oh, I know this is good. I watched the first season, but now I'm going to wait because
Well, I meant to. Well, now I don't even know if I'll get it back around to it, because like just the last time I thought about it was like it was good, but it was like, where are they going to go from here? And it seems like they just kind of escalate things but stay stationary at the same time. So that's just why I haven't been enthused to go back to it. Now there's 2 whole seasons just ready to go. I still need to watch that third season of True Detective.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Speaking of True Detective,
we have Miami Vice season 2 episode 8, Tale of the Goat.
Yeah, this Miami Vice run here the last couple weeks is making me regret Miami Vice up as much as I did. But I think, much like in the series Miami Vice, cocaine might be the problem. But I think they need to do some Vice copying in their writer's room, because I watched this twice because I was like, huh? I totally don't remember this. I know this is not one of their strong episodes.
Well, this is... So I thought that one episode last week was listed as the worst. This one is rated as the worst among the users. Although I don't think it is actually, but it is the weirdest. There's things to like about it, but it is super weird.
Here's the thing. Here's my take. Well, go ahead and describe it.
Okay, original air date November 15th, 1985, NBC Friday. Crockett and Tubbs escort a coffin containing a criminal to his first Miami resting place until it's learned that he's risen from the dead and has a similar zombie fate scheduled for Tubbs. Showrunner Michael Mann, written by Julia Cameron, directed by Jim Trombetta.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then this episode, we open with a coffin.
Yeah, I hear there's like a coffin that has like a dormant on it. It's a black coffin with like kind of white scribbling on it. And then Crockett's like telling a story about the guy that's in the coffin. He's like just some like drug dealer out of Haiti. And then they open up the coffin, and then Crockett pulls out I'm probably guessing at the time, some state-of-the-art camera at the time, and snaps a photo.
And the guy watching over the casket's like, "Hey, what's that for?" And he's like, "Proof." And just sort of leaves it.
Then they come back from credits, and the Crockett and Subs are watching over this funeral, and then there's like there's some song called like Phantom Living playing over it. So that stuff worked okay with me. It's like, okay, it's on the nose. Like, okay, I'm good with this. It's I thought this episode is better than those episodes we're saying were really bad. Well, also this still isn't a great episode, but this has a bit more stuff like that. We're just like interesting panache to it.
Yeah.
And then Tubbs just falls for some lady at the funeral, which is super stupid and not unnecessary.
Because the bad guy in this, named Legba, is the guy in the casket.
Yeah.
That's what gets weird. It's like, oh, this guy died in Haiti, but he was an American citizen, so he's coming home to be buried. And it's like, oh, yeah, these were like voodoo criminals. Like there was some group that Crockett was talking about. I can't remember the name. And yeah, so and they're scoping out the funeral because they're trying to get the guy that took this guy's position, being he's supposedly dead.
Yeah, some
And
guy shows up as Silvio Romulus.
yeah, Romulus. Yeah, that's
So yeah, Silvio shows up and he takes that lady away in like a blue like BMW, or was it a Mercedes? I can't remember.
Mercedes. It was a
Okay.
tacky Mercedes from the 80s.
And then like a dirt biker shows up and shoots the casket.
Machine guns the casket, full auto, you know, and it,
Which that scene was like cool for a moment, but there's a lot of weird like poor sound mixing in this episode.
yeah, there's a lot of dialogue that doesn't match what they're saying.
And so like it's almost like in like, you know, I don't know if they're like, hey, this has a silencer on it or something like, but yeah, the sound mix was weird when they, because it was cool for a moment, and then like then it's just like the sound barely mixed. Like, but that was a lot of weird things that show up in that. But you know, production audio is hard, so
Yeah,
and it was harder back then to cover over production audio you couldn't use. So
yeah, I gotta remember this show's like 40 some years old. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, they open up the casket and there's a black goat inside, and it kind of focuses on this one dude, and he just says zombie.
Well,
And then we have the guy Clarence Williams III, who I most remember him from The Bad Guy and Half Baked, but I guess there's other big things in the Mod Squad, the original Mod Squad.
yes, he was in the Mod Squad, and he also, if you're into Prince, he was Prince's dad in the movie Purple Rain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what I remembered him the most. Was like, oh, that's Prince's dad.
Yeah, he's good and bad. He's an eccentric character actor, so I like him.
Yeah.
He does a lot of physical things that are interesting in this, where he's like walking around with one crutch and doing stuff like that. And
Yeah.
because he's supposed to be like had some like puffer fish toxin to fake his death, and that's probably has some neurological effect on his body. So it's like he can't.
Yeah, there's some doctor that like knows about all the voodoo neurotoxins, and it's like, yeah, this stuff will simulate death for 48 hours, but then when you come out of it, you'll have brain damage. Like, yeah.
So I mean, this is all based on like a quote unquote real thing.
Uh-huh.
So have you ever heard of The Serpent and the Rainbow?
Yeah, it's a good movie. Good bad movie, you know.
Yeah. It's based on a real thing that this doctor who's from Harvard was studying this stuff in Haiti at the time, and it was like I think it seemed like a lot of the scientific community debunked his stuff, but it was like purely because he like was like mentioning zombie and stuff like that, so he sensationalized his research for money, and like but it seemed like he was blaming the zombification thing on this drug, and then that's what they debunked. But then it seemed like they were trying to debunk everything he did, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a toxin that they mix with a bunch of other stuff, and they gave it to people, and it basically like put them in a really like
Deep coma.
well, yeah, like the respiratory system like basically nearly failed, and like they would bury people alive, not knowing that they were going to come out of this neurotoxin.
What a horror show that would be.
And they would, they'd find like, they'd dig up a grave and find like claw marks and stuff on it. But yeah, so yeah, that got turned into a horror movie that Wes Craven did
Good,
with
bad
Bill
horror.
Pullman. Yeah, it's
Yep.
I feel like people have forgotten that movie. It's like, no, there's crazy stuff, and it was good concept, but very stupid. But anyways, so that
I
came.
like how they were trying to name the drug because they were he worked for a pharmaceutical company, and they were like gonna name it Zombinol or something. This will be a great surgical drug,
It was like tetrodotoxin or something like that. It was like the
Yeah.
name of the thing. But the lab tech here says it's like comes from a puffer fish or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but as soon as the lab tech explained that, like, yeah, this could make people seem like zombies, that's when Crockett and Tubbs are just like laughing about it a bit too hard.
Yeah.
Just comes
Seem
out.
to be setting something up for later. It's like,
Yeah.
they're scoffing
Yeah,
at this little too much.
Yeah, it's like they try to make the dilemma be that like, oh, this is too stupid. They're not actually zombies, and then they just try to go too hard and like, no, but what if they are? It's like, well, they're not. But
That doesn't exist. There's brain damage, but there's not zombies.
Yeah, so in the what's his? He said what is his name? Like Lobo or something? Or I have him written down. Legba. Okay, I have him written as Max because he's like Maximilian something Legba.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna call him Max if that's all right.
That's fine.
Yeah, so he gathers support for his crew to get back at Silvio. They find like
weird cast of characters.
Yeah, there's like this little person. He gives a pickaxe and declares him like the master of the graveyard or something like that. Yep. And yeah, then Max is looking to kill Silvio, and then they get like Silvio to like this arcade and they just like kill him, and the little person like stabs the guy in the back with a pickaxe.
Yeah, one guy has a sword. And one guy, the guy has a pickaxe, and then somebody else uses a different weapon.
Well, Max garrots Silvio.
Yeah.
Which that's important because that becomes a thing later on.
Yep.
There's also where the sound mix is poor.
Yeah.
Because I have this bit where like a guy like jumps with a knife out in front of like Crockett and Tubbs with a Ferrari, and then he's like, huh, and he gets away, and then he just like, they can't find him again. It's like, oh, he disappeared. It's like... It's just stupid.
Yeah, it just seemed like, let's film an action scene. How long do we have? Like 5 minutes. Okay. No special, no like ramps or anything required here.
And then like, yeah, we got to this like Crock and Tubbs are watching this used car dealer because he's like laundering drugs for Silvio, or money for Silvio. And then like Max is like watching the TV with one of his commercials, and he has like an AR-15 and he shoots the TV. Yeah, and like the
sleazy used car sales guy. That's just
Bobby Profile.
Yep, it's all money laundering.
Which that was funny. He's here because he's basically like, he would precede it, but like he's like, what he sounds like he's doing is like modern day Al Pacino before it was a thing.
Yeah, it struck me as like, what's he going for here? Why does this seem familiar?
Because it was a podcast I listened to. It was funny, and they kind of figure out that like Dick Tracy was the moment when like Al Pacino's changed his acting style. Because if you look at like all his movies from like the 70s and 80s, like it's always just like quiet, introspective characters. Like even Scarface, as loud as that movie is, he's a quiet, introspective character.
Yeah, he's not like, what are you saying to me? Yeah.
I mean, he only does that at the end, but yeah.
That makes sense because he just did a pound of cocaine.
Yeah.
It's not going to be normal.
He's got a grenade launcher and a mansion. What else? We're going to be quiet and introspective. But then like, like Dick Tracy, that's where he just became like loud and boisterous. And then like he gets like an Oscar nomination for it. And he's like, oh, you mean I can just do this and they'll give me Oscar nom? Because I think I also won the Oscar for like Scent of a Woman. Like he's doing the same thing, just like big boisterous character. And it's like, that's what Al Pacino became.
Yeah.
So anyways,
prototype pre-Al Pacino. This is like early phase.
So that guy sounded like 90s and later on Al Pacino. And then they said at night the Bobby Profile gets robbed by Max. And they set up a bomb in the dealership, and like I have no idea if Bobby's dead at this. They just never pay attention to it. They just like take the money and then also blow up the place.
Yeah.
But Bobby's alive the whole time, but we never see him alive again. So it's like, I guess they killed him.
Yeah, it's like the leg was like henchmen just stand there with him until the bomb went off. It was kind of a weird scene. And it was also something you could tell. It's like, oh, they did this at night, and this is at a car dealership, but there's only one car there.
And then Gina's talking with Maria or Maria. It's Mari. Yeah. Because I was like, how do I spell that? Because like, do I spell it like Mary? It's like, no, you have to say like Ma. So I had no idea how to spell it.
And this was a girl that Tubbs, almost sight unseen, really never talking to her and only seeing her a few times, is like, oh, he's just in love with this woman.
Yeah.
And she really means something to him, even though they barely speak. And she's a beautiful woman, a
Yeah.
very striking looking woman. But it's like, yeah, I think Tubbs has kind of lost it. Like he's just willing to take huge risks to get near this woman who he doesn't really know.
But then like some, Max's goons show up and then kidnap her away, even though she was like living at the house that Max was at anyways. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. It didn't seem like it's like you had to try too hard on that one.
I guess maybe like, she is like talking to Vice and they're like, no, we have to steal you back. And then Tubbs wants to infiltrate the voodoo ceremony. And then but Castillo's like, oh, you got to go in alone. We can't back up on you. It's like a religious ceremony.
And they also said something like it's the weekend. We're not going to have a lot of people. Overtime. I mean,
and then Tubbs gets made at the ceremony and Crockett's trying to track him, but for some reason can't find him. Or did like the tracking device get knocked off somewhere? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was something with the really like No Country for Old Men tracking device technology they had, because it just all it does is make a loud tone the closer you get to it. It's not like GPS or anything. So
yeah, no directions, just kind of follow the tone.
Yeah.
And then Tubbs gets drugged, and then they make it look like they kill Mari. And then Vice show up the next day, and they find Tubbs at the bottom of an empty pool.
Yeah, completely freaked out, like because he's been given some kind of weird drug.
Yeah, he's been given the zombie drug or whatever. So, but they get Tubbs to the hospital, and they kind of bring him back to life, but he's still like hallucinating and like trying to fight Crockett. And then the next day they just give him a gun and like, hey, let's go take this guy down. He apparently still seeing hallucinations.
Yeah, we need you on this like really dangerous dock shootout, like. Yeah, do you think you can come out of the spirit world long enough to do this? Yeah, sure, I'm good. I was like, Castillo's like, oh, he's good. Okay. I think Castillo had about a total of 5 minutes in this whole episode, mainly staring into the middle distance.
Well, I'm almost assured just by kind of looking at vague things, not knowing for sure. But it seems like the next episode is going to be a banger, and it's gonna be a Castillo heavy episode.
Okay, good.
And he's got like a katana in the image.
Yeah. Yeah, this show seems to like safely fit into like that 80s. This is a very 80s episode. It's a lot of villain of the week.
Yeah.
And it's a very strange villain. It's a guy who's shambling, acting weird, saying weird stuff. Supposed to be in character. I mean, one thing about this before we talk about the rest of it, I will say like this was a terrible episode. They really tried. Like they were trying to go for something, but like I said earlier about cocaine in the writer's room, this seems like something a bunch of guys that are coked up, like this is going to be deep and scary, and there's going to be magic and voodoo, and is it real or not? And then the actual follow through was terrible. But you had all the people in place. You just didn't have the story in place.
Well, the Serpent Rainbow book came out the same year, so also they were like, let's do something about that. And this is something they just scrounged up in a day.
I read this book. Good ideas. It really seemed like it was written by cocaine. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Just assuming, because it was so bad, but it had like it wasn't just pure nonsense, but it just never held together.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay, this is just a bad episode, just like the last one. These aren't the silly episodes, or they were supposed to be something. This was like they tried and profoundly failed.
Which now I'm like recontextualized, like where I was like, okay, this is the season where Michael Mann takes over, so it's completely his. And I'm like, it's not good so far.
Well,
maybe there's a reason he left this after this season. There might be a reason for that.
It could be institutional inertia. It could be just there's a lot of things. I mean, there have been some strong episodes, like Where the Buses Don't Run was a great episode. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah, that's so far. That's the one standout.
Yeah, but we just had like a string of just like 3 back-to-back bad episodes.
Yeah,
so it doesn't seem like things aren't looking up here. But I'm almost assured the next episode is going to be one of the good ones.
I hope so, or I'm going to look like an idiot.
I don't know. This was like like I don't like, when I was a kid, MacGyver was my favorite show. I've never gone back to watch MacGyver because like I know like I liked all the cool ideas of MacGyver, but I'm absolutely assured without going back to check that all the acting is terrible and all the story ideas are convoluted nonsense. So I don't go back and watch MacGyver.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's 40-some-year-old television. It's there are some standout shows. I still think this is one of them, but there's 20 some of them a year, and they're not all going to be home runs.
Yeah.
But this seems to be just like this is like the Bucks on a losing streak or something.
Yeah.
It's like
it's just a string of bad shows. So we'll see. We'll go up from there hopefully. I don't know. Maybe I was surprised by the first season because there's so many episodes. Like, this episode, and then but like in between one of those, like, this episode, there was just like this kind of goofy episode.
Yeah, that's what we call the silly sodes, which they did have some of those. They don't really have those anymore, though.
No, not a lot of Izzy and Nookie.
Yeah, no, it got a lot dark. Well, it's all becomes. It's like what this episode tried to do, like kind of at the end. It's like, we have all this horror and all these dark things happen, but you shoot a guy in the face with a sawn-off shotgun with his back to you, and Crockett's like, yeah, he's got he got it back.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, so they track the Max back to this boat, and then there's some point there's just a big shootout. And they shoot the little person, and it kind of played sad and goofy at the same time.
Yeah, because I always felt like that guy is just like he just never stood a chance.
Yeah,
he's a little person voodoo assassin
with a pickaxe.
And he's shooting at Crockett, who's got his Bren 10, gonna just blow you in half with that, or fall over dead.
And then Tubbs is like chasing down Max. And like he's seeing like in 4 dimension or like there's like 4 images like floating around, and then like he's shooting at him, and then like he like gets him in the leg, and then like he like goes around the corner, but then he's like disappeared, and it's like, is it his hallucination or what happened? Also, like there's a fun note here where they have Tubbs reloading. They said that's probably the only time in the series that Tubbs is actually reloaded.
Yeah, that little 5-shot revolver with 15-round extension. Does he reload like the gunslinger, like you don't see it? It's like, it's just TV in the 80s.
But then Tubbs catches back up to him, and like
fights his way through the hallucinations and madness.
Yeah, and then the guy's like just decrying stuff while he's bleeding from the leg, and then Tubbs kind of just like puts the gun down for a moment, but then. Like he pulls a gun out, Max pulls a gun out, so Tubbs pulls out his sawn-off shotgun that he just suddenly has and wasn't using. And then
it's like I would have been the first gun to use in a confined boat shootout. But okay.
And then, and so this must be a hallucination thing because you said like something like you shot him in the back, but like the whole time we're seeing him facing forward and talking at him. So I don't know what that's about.
Well, I mean, just when they shot the scene, is like he was face forward off the side of the boat. Now, because it cuts to like suddenly, Tubbs instantly produces the sawn-off shotgun.
Yeah.
And shoots this guy, and then it cuts to him falling off the boat face forward. So I'm guessing, Tubbs was just hallucinating that this guy, or maybe this guy was yelling stuff, but he was facing out to sea. And in Tubbs' mind, it's like he was a threat. He's got a gun. I'm going to shoot him, but Crockett is not affected by this. So I'm seeing it from Crockett's point of view is like, I just shot that guy in the back. Hey, got your mojo back.
Yeah. Vietnam approves. Like just a smile and a shootout.
Yeah, big smile. Big old smile. Like you just gave him $100 or something like that. Hey, partner. It's like, whoa.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah. Shoot him in the back. Shoot him in the head. Shoot him dead. And then somehow
I forgot.
The happy ending after all this weirdness and nonsense.
Tubbs goes through his catalog of hallucinations and like, his back was to me, like she's still alive. And then somewhere in the boat they like open something, a hidden compartment, and she's in there with like the zombie drugs or whatever, and there's like a little oxygen thing in there, like the other guy had in the coffin. So
Yeah.
and then
Cut to credits.
yeah, well, I think there's like a weird voiceover like she's alive, Crockett. Yeah, cut to credits.
Yeah, weird, like the disjointed sound quality in this episode. It was like they ADR'd that in after the fact. Because none of the characters speak, and it just kind of zooms in on her, like they, edit it to zoom. She's alive, It's like, this is dumb, but they tried. It was they tried something. And this is not the first time voodoo has been.
No, what's in the season? Well, the first was what Santeria was like in like the second or third episode.
I guess that's different. To me, it's all the same.
Yeah,
I'm just some white dude. I don't know about that stuff. It's all like chickens and goats being sacrificed and weird symbols and like, okay. So, yeah. Tail of the Goat, Miami Vice. I mean, okay. There it is.
Yeah, I don't even know what like that title is necessarily referring to, other than that there's goats around in this episode.
Yeah, there's like 2 dead goats in this episode, one in the coffin and one by the pool at the.
Unless the whole greatest of all time thing was a thing back then.
Maybe, but I don't know how it fit into this episode. I don't know how anything fit into this episode. They could have had the Mothman in this episode and be like, okay, this is fine.
Just getting your spin-offs ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, episode 8's this season. Funerals involved in every one of them.
Yeah. A funeral heavy rotation this week.
Yeah.
And only one of them was funny.
Wait, which one is funny?
The guy machine guns the coffin
on
a dirt bike. It's like the weirdest assassination technique ever.
Oh, okay.
The old
because I'm thinking about like me laughing at all the special effects in the Blacklist, but but that's unintentionally funny.
I was not surprised to see that. It's like, oh yeah, I know this. The not so special effects.
Anyways, well, if you've liked what you heard, and how couldn't you? You can find us at anchor.fn/Verhoeven Effect, or you can also go to verhoeveneffect.com. You can rate us and review us on whatever podcast platform of your choice, but whatever you rate us, you can rate us whatever you want, but whatever the highest rating is the only thing the algorithm listens to. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. Also at verhoeveneffect.com, we also have listener support. You can support this podcast at a monthly fee of either 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. We're at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. We're on YouTube at American Greed Factory. That's also our other podcast where you can watch both this show and that show live and unedited. And we also have t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Colin.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.